welcome to Spreading Smith with Brian, a show that goes over any kind of topic that isn't veteran or first responder related, just to have fun and bring people on from all walks of life. The first one is going to be Noah Schmidt. I go to school with him for BCIT's Radio Arts and Entertainment program. And we're just going to kind of have some fun here and see what we can do with it. So Noah, just give everyone just a little bit about yourself.
So yeah, as Brian said, I'm Noah Schmidt. I'm, I guess now going into the second year of the BCIT Radio Arts and Entertainment program. I've lived in Langley, BC most of my life, so kind of a little off the beaten path. But it's quiet, it's humble, and it's still close to everything, so that's a plus. I've always been interested in media and specifically like radio, and I like to speak, I like to present and stuff like that. So a few years ago, after a few years of being out of high school, I found this program and decided to give it a whirl. And so far, it's paid off pretty well because I've enjoyed it a lot so far. And we're just gearing up now to get back in the fall. And what is it, like a month and a month and a half?
And a bit, yeah,
something like that.
Start of September sometime. Exactly.
Yep. So. Yeah, I'm super excited to get back into it and do this kind of stuff again on a regular basis,
But so what we did is we picked two stories and of topics and stuff that we're going to tell each other. And Noah's going to go first. So Noah, what is the first topic?
This is kind of a weird one. I had some like in my head that I wanted to talk about, but I thought just as we were recording about a story that is, it's something I don't tell people very often. I think it's pretty cool because, so in about a month, I'm going to Hawaii for a few weeks, which, the whole thing with the States right now in Canada, it's a bit of a controversial thing with, whether or not you should go. I'm not really my parents want me to come, so I'm like, I can't say no, but that's not the story. So I remember, I don't know if you remember this, back in I think it was 2016 in Hawaii, there was a ballistic missile warning. So it was a warning back in 2016, and I was there. I was there when that happened. I know a lot of people know about that story because Jim Carrey, he has a house in Maui. He talks about it sometimes and how he's thinking, wow, this is the end, isn't it? And for me, it was, I don't know how old I was. I must have been maybe 12 or 13, something like that. But I remember it was so strange because we were sitting at a restaurant in the morning and just eating breakfast. It was a little Mexican restaurant in, I think it was Kihei in Maui, on the island of Maui. And across all the TVs and everything and our phones, we got this message, and it was urgent ballistic missile incoming for the island of Hawaii, not a drill. And everyone kind of thought this was at the height of the Trump North Korea tensions during that time, and everyone was obviously freaking out. And I remember even as a little kid, I know this sounds fake, as a kid I remember being kind of stoic about it because I just kind of thought about it for a second. Everyone's panicking. I'm like, well, I guess, okay, there's worse places to die than Hawaii. And, it was, what are you going to do about it? There's, what am I going to run for the hills? Nothing. If there's a ballistic missile headed for Hawaii, everyone's smoked. No one's getting out of that. So I know, and it sounds kind of unbelievable to think as a kid, you're thinking oh, wow, that's so introspective. But I genuinely, that's the only near-death experience I've ever had, near-death experience. But I really did I was, what are you gonna do about it? And of course, it ended up not being a real threat. I don't know how someone, I guess you just, I don't know how you press the wrong button for that kind of thing. At I don't know, the warning system guys in the States that do that. Because you'd think there'd be some procedure, something that prevents some guy from just accidentally pressing a button and releasing a statewide emergency alert for a ballistic missile. But I think if anything, that experience kind of taught me. I think everyone has that experience in their life where you kind of realize how precious life is, and that it can really just end in just a second. You know, for some people it might be a, you know, car crash or something like that. Mine just happens to be a bit more of an extreme one, but I feel, in a weird way, I feel privileged for being there for such an odd event. You know, it's not something that's going to be, you know, in the history books forever as a massive, you know, turning point in society and whatnot. But you know, it's fun to say, like, you know, I was there, you know, and I hope that kind of thing doesn't happen for real when I go to Hawaii in a month. It won't. But yeah, that's probably the most unique experience I've had, I think. I can't think of anything else that comes close to. That's a good, like, conversation starter, I think, you know. So, yeah, that's my first one.
It really is. I mean, you're 12. You don't quite, you don't understand geopolitics. I mean, you know,
Exactly.
you're not
You know,
kind of understanding. You're just, oh, this guy, that guy, they're bickering on
there's not much
social
subtext
media
to it.
about who
Exactly,
can blow up who. And then all of a sudden you're in paradise, you're enjoying birds and the nature and everything there. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, we're going to get blown to ash.
yeah. And
Look
yeah,
at that bird. That's pretty beautiful.
plus,
We're
exactly,
going to die, but this is
even
almost
for,
dying
yeah,
in heaven.
even for a kid, it's like, well, once you take a second to think about it, it's like, honest to God, what am I going to do? I don't want to spend the last like 5 minutes of my life screaming or even like looting. Like, I'm like, okay, you know, I'll eat my like breakfast burrito and just look out at the ocean before I get like atomized. So, you know, it sounds like that's made up to me. Like when I say that, like as a kid, I was very like nonchalant about it, I guess. But I don't know, it's just the way it happened, and you know, it's not. That's just how I reacted. You know, I can't really explain it beyond that.
Well, I mean, exactly, right? It's different being 12 as opposed to your 30 or whatever, where you kind of have a different little mindset of something and then you go,
Yeah,
okay, yeah, we're fucked.
yeah, exactly.
Or whatever, you know, most people, or even as like adults, most were probably checking other feeds, verifying, looking at it. We're like,
Yeah, I
as
was
a
just
12-year-old, you're not, hey, let me check out, you know, what Twitter, if that would even existed then at that name and that time. And, you know, all these other little ones go, hey, let's see what the feeds are going. Because even back then, most people probably be in a panic. It's all over. Just like social media where people just spin a tail and it goes all around the world. And you're
oh,
like,
exactly. Yeah.
wow, that's interesting.
Yeah.